Hello everyone, welcome to Grow Roots. This is Shannon and welcome to my November 2024 front garden tour. Well, welcome everybody. I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. Today is Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. I have the day off, which is amazing. And I'm just now getting around to filming my November 2024 front and backyard garden tours. So I apologize. We're just barely still in November, but I like it because I wanted to show y'all kind of what the garden looks like after we've started getting a little bit cold. We actually just had our first freeze last night. So November 28th, 29th was our first freeze for 2024, which is way later than the average. Usually we've got our first freeze, by November 12th and a lot of times before that. But today, this November has been very, very warm. And so the garden will look a little bit different this year. And this is why I document, this is why I make a big effort to make sure that I film monthly garden tours, because I'll look back on this in future years and say, hey, what did my garden do that November that it was so warm? And now I'll be able to see because I'll have it actually documented. So I'm starting right here because this is my favorite part of my front garden right now. And you will see why in just a minute. But I wanted to show you, I've talked all year about this is my big leaf hydrangea. This is an endless summer hydrangea that I've had for, like 13, 14 years now. It has stayed in this pot for all of that time, and it has stayed in this location the entire time, and it is gorgeous. So this year I've had more blooms on it than ever before. And I have told y'all all year long that if you leave the blooms on your endless summer hydrangeas or hydrangea macrophylla in general in North Texas, I don't know if this happens the rest of the year, but if you leave the blooms on, then in, the fall months and the winter months, the blooms turn this absolutely beautiful magenta color. And here it is. It's almost like they're brand new blooms. You know what I mean? Like in a different color. And then here we go. It's so interesting. The part that reaches, the top is all magenta, and then you lift it up, it's like bicolor. There's the green, there's the magenta, there's the green. It's so fun. I absolutely love it. The fresher blooms are a little bit more magenta than the older blooms, but I still love them all just the same. And then the leaves are turning like this beautiful purpley magenta color. And gosh, this is why this is pretty much my favorite plant because I enjoy it all year long. Truly. I mean, in the winter, it will, as December comes through and January, really cold months, it will lose its leaves and it won't be as interesting. But this year is probably the best it's ever looked because of how many blooms it has, and I think it's just absolutely amazing. I did want to point out a couple of things. Because we had such a warm November, it actually continued to bloom for me. Here's a brand new bloom that's probably not going to make it because we did have our first freeze this morning. But here's one that is a brand new bloom. Look at the color on that. It's already trying to turn like magenta on me, but it's got that blue growth that I saw earlier in the season. So this is the first time I've ever seen this have new blooms in November for sure. So it's neat to see like the different weather patterns and what they do to our plants. Over here is my lace cap hydrangea, and it is variegated. It's absolutely gorgeous. I've never seen it bloom, but I've only had it for maybe 3 years now, if that. And so I am hoping that it will have blooms next spring, but you just never know. I think these guys are notorious for being at least 5 years old before they throw out blooms. So I did want to show you like the color change on their leaves too, just a little bit. It's really, really pretty. I had this 3-tier planter, and these were full of mostly annuals, and so those are gone, and I put some Christmas decorations up there, my little Christmas village, so I thought I would show y'all. This is just the start of the Christmas decorations. I have my little Christmas tree pillow that I crocheted over there, and I still have some coleus that has survived. I have some variegated liriope that I think I'm going to keep in there, and that should survive the winter, and it might be evergreen for me in the winter time. So this is my front porch. Now we'll get into the garden in just a moment, but this is going to be evergreen for me. This is variegated English ivy. I still have a mum here and a mum there. And then here is my Gerbera daisy, and it is blooming like crazy. It is right here in a pot, and it was this tiny little thing to start the season in the spring, and now it's ginormous, y'all. Look how massive that is. It's just incredible, and it's throwing all these new blooms on me because it's been so warm. But again, I don't expect these guys to last. I don't think these will last through a freeze, the blooms anyway. The Gerbera daisy is hardy down to zone 8. And so I am a little bit concerned about it overwintering in this pot. However, it is in kind of a protected location here. Most of our winds come in through this way, and it's shielded from all of that with the sunshine ligustrum. The sunshine ligustrum is actually growing into the plant at this point, which I will leave because it will help insulate the plant when it gets really, really cold. And if we get really, really cold, I will cover it with some frost cloth. So that's no problem. I think it will do just fine in this pot, but you always have to be kind of wary. We are zone 8. When you put something in a pot, you want it to be hardy 2 zones lower than that, and it's not. And so I will be careful with this one for sure. Moving over, if you guys remember, if you've seen my earlier videos, you know that this had a bunch of perennial shade plants in it, and then I also had some vines growing because they were growing up this pillar on the other side, and those are gone. I have taken them out. I have planted the perennial shade plants in a new shade garden, which I will show you in my backyard tour. But for my birthday, some of my birthday money, I went and I bought a beautiful Encore azalea. And I have grown 2 or 3 azaleas before, but this was before I really knew a lot about gardening, and I killed them. And they were planted in the ground. So a couple of things. They really like acidic soil. I planted them in the ground, and I never modified added some compost and stuff, but I never put soil acidifier in. Like, I also planted them in a pretty sunny location, which they do not really love. They like part shade. And so, especially here in North Texas, it gets too hot. So, anyway, I know a lot more about what this plant loves, and I decided in a pot as well, I could definitely keep the soil, acidic enough to get it. And I may even plant it in the ground if I can get this guy to survive and start, figuring out the inner workings of it and what it likes. But in the meantime, it's beautiful. I expected it to drop its blooms after I planted it last week, and it did not drop its blooms. It might not actually bloom out where it had its buds, but the existing blooms are still there, and it's gorgeous. So this is the Encore Azalea Autumn Sunset, and yeah, the price tag's on there, but I got it for $16 at Home Depot. I think it was Home Depot, or was it Lowe's? Actually, I'm not sure, but just beautiful, beautiful plant. And I'm so excited to try this. This is definitely like a part shade location, and the Gerbera daisies love the part shade as well. It will get some direct sunshine during the day, but in the morning only, and the Gerbera daisy has thrived in it. So I think the azalea will do perfect as well. Next to the azalea, I just wanted to show you the evergreen English ivy, the variegated English ivy, and it's going up this little Christmas tree shaped topiary, which I absolutely love. That will be a staple for the porch for the winter time because it will be one of the only things that's evergreen. Let's see. Going down here, I have another mom. I had a bubblegum petunia here. It's gone. It's dead. And let's go ahead and take a look over here first. So we've got our Christmas decorations up, and here is our 3-ball topiary. It is a Carolina Sapphire Cypress, and so super excited about that. My husband put lights on it, and we decorated it with little ornaments, and so very excited for that. I have variegated liriope down here that may or may not be evergreen. I did plant some violas down there, but they are not doing well down there. The liriope is kind of overtaking it a bit. And so I don't know that that's the best location for violas or pansies because the liriope tends to take over. So back behind it is black-eyed Susan vine and morning glory, although what you see is pretty much 100% black-eyed Susan vine. This is a, wow, look at that. I didn't even notice it was growing onto the roof. Oh dear. It's okay because we did have our first freeze. It actually looks like it's doing just fine after our first freeze, but sometimes you don't see that frost damage until, you know, well after the freeze. And so this is why I wanted to capture it for sure before that freeze, because it really is just so beautiful climbing up our pillar like that. My husband is anxious for it to be dead because he's not a big fan of vines in general, but it's also covering we have a camera up there. It's one of our camera locations and it's blocking the camera. And he's eager to put up, we have wreaths that go on these pillars. And so he doesn't want to put that wreath up until the vine is gone. But anyway, it is gorgeous. I will be growing this again, and I have collected a lot of seeds from, not this one hasn't produced a lot of seeds for me, but the one in my backyard has produced a ton of seeds for me. But just a little quick lesson if you guys are curious. You see these little cone-shaped things, leaves, they're covering a seed pod. So that's what the seed pod looks like. This one is, oh, it's a decent sized one. And so it's green, and you don't want to collect seeds from it when it looks like this. I don't really know if any of them, here's another one. But again, this is green. So eventually these things will turn brown, and then this will pop and the seeds will pop out of it. And so that's how you collect the seeds. And so what I did in the backyard, because it had a ton of them, and there's more than I thought there were over here, but what I did in the backyard is I covered these guys with a little mesh baggie, like the kind that you get for wedding, you know, wedding gifts or whatever. They're little tiny bags. And so I covered those little things from here down, and then so when they pop open, the little mesh bag will catch it. And so I've got quite a bit of seeds this way. I've noticed these seed pods only produce about 2 seeds, if that. They don't produce a whole lot. But anyway, I have collected a lot of seeds, so I'm super excited about growing that vine again. Over here we have our boxwoods. These are, I believe they're winter gems. If they're not winter gems, they're baby gems. I just completely forget. They're about 2 years old and they're doing really well. I meant to shape them or prune them in shapes of spheres before it got too late in the season, and I just did not do that. So they will be pruned because it's not time to prune them right now, but in late winter, as soon as I see some new growth, I'll prune, and they will be little spheres now that they're a lot bigger. But my husband put some lights on them, and they're super cute that way. And so here's why I can't really film my front garden very well. My husband is huge into Christmas and decorating the outside of our home for Christmas. And so we have a lot of things on display. I did film our Christmas light display at night last year. I haven't filmed it yet this year because we're not completely done yet. But if you would like to watch that video, I will put the link up above in the upper right corner. You can click on that. You can see what it looks like at night. But we have this mega tree. It's half of a mega tree, and it's right in front of our garden. So I'm going to be like actually going into my front garden to show you what it's doing because I can't really get in front of it. But here we have, this is my limelight hydrangea that is shaped like a standard and doing great. I'm not taking those blooms off because I think that they're interesting and yeah, kind of cover for birds and things like that. It's underplanted. It's so cute. I love this. They're yellow violas and pink dianthus, and then a little bit of lemon coral sedum. And they're doing amazing in that pot. So that's super, super fun. And then down here, I have May Night Salvia. And this again, I've never seen the May Night Salvia bloom in November, but here we go. And this is how warm it's been. So beautiful. I love how, yeah. And so this whole pot is kind of surrounded by May Night Salvia. It's kind of a low growing salvia for me. Kind of a ground cover salvia. And it's even, I had lemon ball sedum planted here, and it's kind of taken over. I transplanted that up there because it was just getting taken over. But I also have some dianthus planted here that's not currently blooming. And I don't know if you see this plant. Oh, this is grass. Yes. Does not look perfect, y'all, but this plant right there is sparkling amethyst verbena. And verbena is hardy down to zone 8 as well. So planted here in the ground, especially a little bit protected under there, it's going to do fabulous. And I did have some blooms on it that are a little bit spent, but actually there's a new bloom. Probably won't end up blooming right there. It's going to be a cool ground cover, I think, back there. So that's pretty neat. Right over here, I have a salvia, and my salvia, this is a salvia gregii. It's like a hot pink color. It should be doing well right now, and it's not. And it's such a tough plant. It is shocking that it's not doing well. I don't know what's really going on. I have a lot of new growth down there, and I do have some blooms, but usually like this should be covered in blooms right now, and it's not. And so I'm not sure that I'm going to keep it. I have another one over here. It's actually a little smaller and doing a little better. I don't really understand it. But that is Salvia gregii. This is a Sweet William dianthus that I picked up at Walmart. I had one here for the spring, and it just was the most beautiful blooms ever. And then when I saw them at nurseries here in the fall, because this one died back, and because it's biennial, so it died off after it bloomed, but I thought that I would add another one. I hope it reblooms in spring, but I'm really not sure what it will do, so we will have to wait and see. I have a daylily planted there and another May Night Salvia there. And then right next to my little bird bath, I have, this is new. I picked up, I think 4 lemon ball sedum because I just really, really love it. And it will be evergreen as well. So it's a nice little touch of evergreen to the garden. And I just think it's the best thing ever for a ground cover. Really, it likes sun, it can survive in the shade, it blooms yellow blooms in the spring, and it stays evergreen. So I will be adding a lot more lemon ball sedum when I have little blank spaces in the garden for sure. Right next to it, I know the sun is starting to take over, but look, my daffodils are coming up already. This happened last year too. This is so fun. I have some daffodils planted, I think, all around. I also have daffodils planted like throughout here. I don't see those popping up quite yet, but they should be fine unless we get like an extreme winter. They will be just fine, and then they will bloom when they're supposed to bloom. But yes, they are already coming up because November was so warm. A lot of things are tricked into thinking it's spring. So yeah, that's just the way that it goes. Way back there, I hope you can see it, is another daylily. It's a red one. And then I will show you, there's a bunch of leaves in here. It's just how it's going to be. But I have, these are, what are they? Blue Ocean Matrix Pansies. They are gorgeous. I love these white ones. Oh my goodness. It's not all the way open yet, but look how beautiful that is. It's so pretty. And then behind it, I have fresh new Dusty Miller that are already getting huge. They're so funny. I just love pansies with Dusty Miller. I just really love the combination. It might be overdone and cliche, I don't know, but I love it. So I'm going to do what I love because it's my garden. But anyway, I want to note that this front spot in my front garden is where I usually put annuals, winter, spring annuals, and then summer annuals. And there are just some spots where I can't get plants to grow right now. And if you can see, This is a pot, this is a pot, and this is a pot. So my original plantings, this one died, and that one died. And I have no idea why. And the same kind of thing happened with my summer annuals. And so, I mean, the rest of everything is doing fine. And it's just this location right here and that location right there. And I'm not sure what's going on, but I did have 3 left over. Fortunately, I had 3 die. I had 3 left over that I was just going to plant in my backyard. But I just potted them up in these terracotta pots. And I thought, I'm going to try that. These are in potting soil, but the pot itself is planted into the ground. And they're doing perfect. So there's something in my garden soil here and here that is killing plants, and I just don't know what it is. So if you guys have any ideas, let me know in the comments. And maybe if I continue having this problem, this was an experiment for me, but I might just plant a bunch of little, these are, what are they, 6-inch pots? I might just plant all 6-inch pots in here and then plant the annuals in there. And then just, take them out, put the new annual in, and not really have to worry too much. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with these and how long these terracotta pots will actually last in the ground. I don't know either. But they're not expensive, so I really don't see the harm in putting those in there, even if they break. No big deal. Moving on to this part of the garden, I haven't cut these back yet, but this is balloon flower and it got huge, and these big stems that you see had plant stakes in them to keep them up. They were full of blue blooms. They were so beautiful. It's Fuji blue balloon flower grown from seed. Absolutely beautiful. And then let's see if pardon me, I'm going around Christmas decorations and things, but this is an annual type of dianthus that I planted last year that loves this location. This is kind of on the border of sun and shade because I have a Vitex tree ahead of me. But the dianthus absolutely love this location, and they're doing absolutely beautiful. And then I have a daylily there. I've shown you the Salvia gregii there. And then this is a Dusty Miller that was planted last year that got huge that I just transplanted back there. And again, it's going to be evergreen. Dusty Miller will survive through the winter here in North Texas and keep its foliage this way. And so that big guy is just going to be a nice little pop of white in the garden for all year round. I've got 2 more planted here, but they are not doing as well. I cut them back pretty hard before I transplanted them, and I don't know that they're going to make it, but let's see. I have my little garden sheep here. His name is Lambo. I do have some ground cover going on here, and it is Vinca major, but it's variegated. And it's just starting to kind of take over. The sun is kind of weird, but I have more Dusty Miller planted here. These were actually new Dusty Millers. I had 3 extra from, the flat that I had bought. So I just thought, I'm going to pop them in down here. And then I also have Burgundy Glow Ajuga, which is, doing great and covering the ground over here underneath this Vitex tree. And then I'll take you around, but that is my other Hydrangea macrophylla here in the front garden. That's also an endless summer hydrangea. It's planted in the ground, and let's go see it. So here it is. Here's another, like I said, this is a new bloom that bloomed in November. This one's pink because the soil is not as acidic. And here's an older bloom that has now turned magenta. Here's an older bloom as well that turned magenta. Just absolutely beautiful. Interestingly, I think this one's just more sheltered because it's under the Vitex tree. The leaves are definitely not changing as much as the other one. Oh, look. Goodness, I didn't even notice these guys. It thinks it's spring. Oh my goodness. This is new discovery, y'all. I haven't noticed all of these new blooms, and there's another new bloom right there. That's crazy. That's so crazy. And here's an older one. Yep, it thinks it's spring. It's lovely. This guy just has done so well. I don't know why though. This branch just up and decided to die on me. This happens sometimes with Hydrangea macrophylla. Sometimes one branch will just completely die. The rest of the plant is perfectly fine, and then one branch will decide to just die. But I love this plant, especially this time of year. It's almost 5 feet tall now. I have sunshine ligustrum planted all back there, and it is about 5 feet tall. And so you can see the blooms are now, especially that new one back there, it's almost as tall as the sunshine ligustrum at this point. This plant is about 6 or 7 years old, I'd say. I'm coming back to show y'all the Vitex tree. Let's see. In the sun, a little bit later in the day that I like to be when I'm filming, but there is my Vitex tree. It is getting huge, absolutely gorgeous. There is one new bloom, if you can see it right there. But yeah, oh, there's a few that are up there. It's a great plant. The leaves are getting ready to shed. I can see they're turning like this purpley brownish color. So they are getting ready to defoliate, but here we are in the end of November, and it still has all of its leaves. And so there's the front garden. I know the mega tree is totally taking up the front garden, but there it is. One thing I did want to show you, these are my curbside planters right here, and it has Mystic Spire's blue salvia here. And wow, they are incredible. This is the first time I've grown this plant, and they are hardy down to zone 8. And so I will be trying to overwinter these guys. Again, when something's planted in a container, I am zone 8. This is hardy down to zone 8, but when it's in a container, it's about 1 to 2 zones colder because the roots are more exposed. And so I may have to cover these guys with frost cloth to make sure that it survives. But here we are after our first freeze, and I've got blooms like crazy. You can't even tell that, I mean, the leaves look beautiful. They don't look stressed after a freeze. This is incredible, but the pollinators have absolutely loved it. I actually have wanted to prune this guy back, but because it's covered in pollinators, there's none out right now because it's in the 30s, but it's just, I've had a hard time. I did cut a lot of here, and then these are the pansies that I'm trying to underplant it with, but I haven't done so yet because I'm waiting for this plant to die back so that I can prune it. And yeah, so I've got some pansies that are ready to go. They just haven't been planted there because I wasn't sure if they would do well under there. But Mystic Spire's blue salvia, it blooms from early spring to late fall, and it's just the most amazing plant ever. And I have one more over here. However, I also had a sparkling amethyst verbena planted under here, one of them, and it did not love the heat of the summer, maybe because the Mystic Spires was taking over, but it hung on. And then now that we've had this like amazing November where it felt like spring, this plant just completely started taking off, and it grew all the way around this pot. And so again, I'd love to see it overwinter. I just don't know if it will, and I don't know if I'll transplant it or what, but I did want to show you how absolutely beautiful it looks in this warm November that we've had. And I think because it has done so well, this Mystic Spires has not done as well as the other one that was not underplanted with anything. And so it is interesting. I think it's taken up some of the nutrients and things like that. So, and it's just, but it's beautiful. Sparkling amethyst verbena. And then again, I popped in my pansies. They're just still in their containers there, ready to go, but you know, they'll get planted as soon as everything kind of dies back. So there you have it, everyone. This kind of concludes the November 2024 front garden tour / Christmas decoration tour. Again, if you want to watch that video of what everything looks like at night, if you're interested in the Christmas decor part of everything, please click on that video. I'd love to have you guys watch that. And but thanks for watching. you know, it's always amazing to document our gardens every month of each season. And since this one was kind of record breaking for how warm November was for us, it'll be really interesting to see in the years how the garden is different based on our weather. But thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you have a fantastic day. Goodbye.